Welcome back, everybody, to the Blazer Victory podcast. John Duncan here. And of course, I'm joined as always with both of my co hosts, Jimmy Marion and Darian Smith. We're all rocking the Cahaba Brewing cap. This episode, it's a game recap episode. First B ball game recap episode, but y'all know the drill. All game recap episodes of the Blazer Victory podcast are brought to you by Cahaba Brewing Company. And we're going to spotlight the Cahaba Blonde today, staple beer, known worldwide and statewide as the best blonde in the state of Alabama, and I think up there in the nation. But y'all go on down to the tap room, Cahaba Brewing Company. You can go to their website, cahababrewing.com, just to check, see what all they have on draft beers and what mixed drinks they have available. And while you're there, go to the current food truck, which is there. That's their permanent food truck, and get you some good food. But let them know that the Blazer Victory podcast sent you down there. And I mentioned last week, a couple of days ago, when we did our Tulsa football game recap episode. Stay tuned for that first announcement for our UAB basketball away game watch party at Cahaba Brewing Company. So that should be official soon. If you're a Patreon VIP member, we've already sent you that date to say, but we're just literally making just dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and we'll announce that officially soon. But while we're here, UAB basketball kicked off the 2024-2025 season last night, hosting a really good Vermont team. But unfortunately, Vermont edges out UAB at the end. UAB loses 67-62. And, we're going to spend the primarily of this episode focusing on recapping this basketball. But at the end, we'll do a short preview of UAB football's game this Saturday against UConn. But, guys, it was kind of ugly, especially there in that first half. Vermont took the halftime lead, led by as many as 14 points. UAB just kind of really didn't get in a rhythm really until midway through that second half. But unfortunately, the Blazers just dug a hole too deep to get out of. UAB never led in this game, tied it up a couple times, I think 3 times. In the second half. But Jimmy, Darian, I haven't even talked to y'all about the game. Normally we'll talk during the game or right after, but we were all tired. Late night football, basketball grind. Jimmy, Marion, let's hear your just initial thoughts about UAB's 67-62 loss to the Vermont Catamounts.
Pain is my first thought, but at the same time, like, for real, it was good to get back in the Bartow Arena and see some friends, see some, loyal listeners, have some conversations, and just be back in the Bartow. We knew going into this game that Vermont was a quality opponent. The line opened up, I think it was somewhere between 5 to 6 points. And really, from a betting perspective, you're just going off of last year's teams and trying to put the pieces together, not sure what to expect. And so we knew it was going to be tough. And to your point, I think you said it best, John, from the start. I mean, we just dug a deep hole when you give a 14-point advantage to a good team like Vermont, a team that, is not going to have a fast up-tempo style. They're going to limit possessions, and, that just makes it even more difficult to overcome that type of, hole that you put yourself in. But, I thought on the plus side, in the second half, things really changed, specifically with Yax. You look the way that he came out of the locker room with his energy, getting involved, and really throughout the second half, it was just primarily everything through Yax on the offensive side of the ball. So I was happy to see that change. I do think that there were some positives as it relates to the defensive side of the ball. I was impressed, me in particular, with a guy like Jabari McGee. I thought that he played hard defensively, and he got matched up with number 12 Bogues quite often, which is a guy that I think he was the preseason player of the year for the American East, and he came out right away and let everybody know about that. With I think it was either 7 or 9 straight points. So I think most of the conversation is going to stem around perimeter shooting for UAB and lack thereof, and offensive execution. How much of that can get fixed and corrected, quickly is going to be the question. So that's something to watch. Butta, we love Butta on this podcast. He had arguably probably the worst shooting performance of his career, probably at any level. He had some clean looks there at the end that could have given UAB the lead. We know that he's going to bounce back, and we certainly need him to do so. Last comment that I'll just make kind of here, like at the front end, is it was interesting to hear some of AK's comments post game. Somewhat around. I'll start with this, talking about just a lack of offensive execution. But also that he wasn't necessarily happy with the approach of the team thus far as they prepare for this first game. I'll just let him speak to that. But then lastly, I'll say something else that he said, I think it was on the post-game radio show, was the 3 transfers that they brought in, Ezewiro, Gordon, and Moore, have never been a part of a winning team at the Division I level. And so that's probably going to take some time for everybody to understand like what level of consistent effort that's going to take to reach the goals, which all of us as UAB basketball fans, the team, especially in the coaching staff as well, have high goals. And so good to be back in Bartow. Hate the result, pain, but there's so much talent on this team that hopefully that was going to be a wake-up call for them and they're able to turn things around quickly.
All right, Darren, you're live from Gotham City. Shout out to our YouTube. You can see that Darian is in Gotham. Darian, what's your initial thoughts?
I'm in Gotham. Honestly, I call this Gotham, but this is for any recruits out there. This is how Birmingham looks. This is Birmingham, Alabama, right there. That's the Vulcan. That's the Vulcan, and this is just everything around. So if you've never been to Birmingham, come check us out. It's gargoyles and superheroes.
And somebody from Vermont is going to be listening to like, what in the world?
It's like a lot of people think Birmingham is like the Vatican or something, so you can come over here and
205, baby.
It's experience the thrill of your life. But yeah, I'm not really upset with the game. I think it was clear to see that a lot of our guys did not know where to get their shots from. So if you go back to the team last year, it took a while to gel. But in the beginning, remember, the whole identity of the team changed as guys figured it out last year. In the beginning, we was just dumping it down in the post. I can't even think of what was the other post player name that. Wow, I'm going.
Javian Davis.
Yeah, JD. So JD would always that was one of our go-to guys, especially in the beginning, on the inside down in the post, because he knew where to get his shots from. He knew how he was going to get his shots. We only had a couple of guys to kind of know their spots. It's not you as an individual player. That's part of it, but it's also how you work as a team. Where do you go so this person can operate the best? You know what I'm saying? What you saw out there was a lot of clunkiness. Like it was one position that was so ugly. I think it was Vasco. It might have been Gordon and Big E out there. I'm gonna call him Big E because I feel like I'm gonna butcher his name. But
Big Brad.
Yeah, Big Brad.
Yeah, Jimmy, say it again because to be honest.
Ezewiro, right?
I heard it sounded like the announcer, at the game, said Ezewiro.
Okay.
He goes by Big Brad.
So Big Brad, I saw him posting up, was right in the same area. I believe it was Gordon, or maybe it was I can't remember which one it was, but they was all 3 guys in the same exact area on offense. I'm like, this is so ugly. We saw Tyron Moore. Of course, you see his highlights and you can see where he get his shots from. I saw him kind of figuring out, should he let that three fly? I felt like it was a couple times. I felt like he's the type of 3-point player to where if it's like a semi contest, like if you need to go ahead and get that shot up, man. It's just sometimes he was turning it down and doing that little awkward floater off to the side, and it was just a bad shot. He was turning down a pretty good shot for a bad shot because I think everybody was just trying to figure out. Sometimes they was getting out in transition. I saw Jabari McGee get out in transition. He did this weird floater. As he was doing, I was like, slow down. You don't have numbers, slow down. Then he's kind of just did a weird floater. Like, you can tell they was just like, okay, let me try to do this. I need to pick it up. It was effort, but they didn't know exactly where to be, not as basketball players, but on this team. That's why you saw guys like Yax. Yax would start getting to his spots. He was like, I know where to be on this team. I played here. Like, so you saw the guys, you saw Vasquez, the guys that we get. Butter got good shots. They just didn't go in. Like, I mean, can't be mad at it's only so much. You know what made me upset about this game is like we had those clean looks that we had reliable guys that usually make them. But it was the basketball gods. That's what I call them, basketball gods, because they made some BS threes. I was like, after I was kind of like, hey man, this ain't the way to win a game. Like,
how many did they bank in? How many threes did they bank in?
It was like two banks in a row, and dude was pulling them like it was heat chicks.
Especially late in the game, like those last couple minutes. Like, man,
yo, it was like 3 or 4 BS threes they made. I was keeping up with them. It started with the one at the end of the shot clock. Where the dudes just got the ball, like I think we had blocked it or they passed it back up top and he flung it up. Cash.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the other guy come down and hit like 2 bank threes. And I'm just like, yo, if we had 2 clean open threes go in, we win the game. Forget a bank three. Right. If we just had our regular threes that we make go in, that's the only thing I was upset. I was like, but I'm honestly watching this game. I saw competition. I just saw guys like I saw Big Brad. He kind of didn't know like kind of where his players was going to be. So he's going to post moves, but his only post move was just turn over this one shoulder and force it up. It wasn't any kind of counter or any kind of. I think everybody's still trying to. Greg Gordon really didn't know where his shots were going to come from because he's primarily a driver. But if you got Big Brad in there, what is he going to do? It make it easy to just collapse and just be like, what are you guys doing? Y'all all you can take one guy in there and guard 3 guys. I mean, y'all all in the same spot. So what I want to see is like Tyron Moore, let it fly. Greg Gordon, get out in transition. Jabari McGee, don't force it. I think he started getting it going, especially defensively. And he's a good passer. Looking at his film, I didn't know he could set the table. I think he's finding his way. I think he could be like a controlled Eric Gaines out there. But I saw some good things. I saw Yax. I think the key to Yax is just being aggressive. Those guys are going to figure it out. You got it figured out. I think in the first half, he was trying to let everybody get all that, trying to let everybody cook. I think you get the cooking, then people will start putting in side ingredients. They'll start putting in, you're the main dish. You're the steak. Let them be the baked potatoes. You know what I'm saying? Let them. But what I'm saying is let them revolve around you. Don't, because I feel like that's what put us in the hall. I think Christian Coleman can be more aggressive. I like when he did his thing and he got going. The guys that we know, the Vasquez's, Butter keeps shooting. You know what I'm saying? He got a couple nice, clean look middies. It was like 2 or 3 of them. I'm like, that's cash. They almost like layups to him. Those when he pull up at the free throw line. Sometimes it's like that, man. I don't play football. Of course I play football, but sometimes it's like, damn, I just can't do nothing right today. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying, but it's not working. I can't get mad at that. I still feel like we should have won the game. I'm not mad at none of the players. It's the basketball gods with those BS threes. We couldn't buy a 3. And I'm just like, man, I hate that it come down to this. And I hate saying this, but we just had bad luck, guys. I don't know what else to blame it on, but they had all of the good mojo. And we had no good mojo, and we still almost won. I hate to lose. I want to go undefeated this year. Like I wanted us to be an at-large bid, but we know how basketball is. That's the thing about like a game like this is really important because how many opportunities do we have to showcase this for basketball? But I'm encouraged, especially compared to kind of like last year. I think with guys like Yax and Butter and Vasquez and Christian Coleman, I think we can have a quicker learning curve than we had last year.
Yeah, I agree, Darian. I mean, it's tough. UAB shot 0 for 10 from 3-point for the game, and only attempted 1 3-pointer in the first half, which was weird. And Andy has said, they brought Tyron Moore over to shoot threes. And like Darian said, he hesitated on a couple, but man, you just got to shoot one of those, especially if you got a clean look. And Andy and the staff chart those clean look. You got to take it. And,
let it fly. Vermont let it fly, and they hit some of that BS.
I was about to say what hurts worse is they hit 10, we hit 0. I mean, that's plus 30 just from behind the arc. And Tyron Moore, to that point, I mean, I haven't gone back and looked at it, but in his 2 years at Georgia Southern, I wonder how many games where he did not attempt a 3-point shot. He is, I think he only played like 14 minutes. I'm looking at the box score right now, but in his time out there in the court, like you've got to go out there and shoot threes. And I mean, he just like you guys are saying. I mean, at that point, ain't nobody hit one. Like that's what you do.
It's not that UAB, turn the ball over or slop. It's just the little things. And I mean, shoot, if you 0 from 10 shooting the 3, of course you're going to be frustrated. Of course you're going, you're going to slump shoulders. And I mean, it's just not your night. But Darian and Jimmy, y'all both said it. If we just get 2 of those to drop and maybe hit 1 or 2 more of those free throws, 10 or 15 from the line, it's not terrible, but it's not great. And you got to get to the line too. 15 free throws, you got to get to the line more, being more aggressive. And we saw that a lot more in that second half, especially with Yax early on. And shout out to Yax Lindeborg, another a double-double to start the season. And I still don't think he's 100%. But yeah, man, you only Yax 3 points in the first half.
How much did he end with?
He ended 22. With 22. Yeah, 22 points.
What was his full stat line?
22 points, 15 rebounds.
Ooh, it was like 5 blocks.
5 blocks, 2 steals.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers, that should be good enough to win, man. But I'm sorry that I didn't do this, but shout out to Vermont. That's a good team.
Yes. Hey, they're gonna win their league again for a 4th straight year. Like they're good.
I think
sound.
I think especially for the first game, they were very connected. Like how many I tweeted the 1-3-1 give it, the 1-3-1 take it away. That 1-3-1 is such a roll of the dice. Like I have mixed feelings about the 1-3-1. I've talked about it last year. It's something I've grown to accept it. Like I accept the 1-3-1. I really do, because that's part of our identity. But man, it's so boom and bust, man. Because if they get it to that corner, and they were a good team. I think they're ahead of the curve as a team. I wasn't really impressed by like the individual talent, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? But as a connective team, as a connective unit, I think their defense, like the way they are on the string, especially getting out to the 3-point line and closing out and helping, closing out and helping. But then on the offensive end, we went to that 3. You had number 20. Yeah, he'll be sitting in that corner, the left-handed shooter. I'm like, dude, like, and I just don't think we are on the string enough to be doing that against a team like that, because all they did was pass it to the they got it to that corner. I'm like, oh, here we go, man. Like him and what's the other guy? There was it was number
TJ Hurley.
Oh, Hurley, yeah.
TJ Hurley, number 3.
TJ Hurley. Yeah. Oh man. Man, shout out to him to put them up too. I said I wasn't really impressed with the individual talent from them, but that bucket at the end when he got it go up too, that was smooth. I think he was Jabari McGee 1-on-1, and it was a tough shot off glass, like fading away midi. I was like, that's tough.
The one that really got me was number 0. I think at the time he had 0 points, and that's when he got fouled. I think it's by Vasquez, and he connected on the 3, and he scored 7 straight points. Like we had tied the game. He got the and 1 and the 3, and then he hit another 3. So we went from 0 to 7, tie game to 7. That roller coaster of emotion, like in the second half, was like the worst. That's where I say pain, because you go down, you come back. You're right there within 2 to 4. It gets tied. It goes back to 7. You come back again. It's tied, and you're down 1. You've got the ball, chance to take the lead. Like it was just like back and forth. And like I really did think that, despite everything that had happened, that UAB had the momentum, had the crowd behind them. Yax was on fire. Like it just felt like we're gonna pull this out. Like we're gonna make it happen. And for it not to happen, and the way it happened. You mentioned the TJ Hurley. I think it was 1-on-1 with Butta, and then on the other end yeah, they went 1-on-1 with Butta, and I think it was on the opposite side of the court. I think he banked it in, but then for Butta to get those 2 shots right there in front of the UAB bench, like back to back, I mean, like it
what
was
else
just
can
like
you ask for?
nothing.
Like that's what I'm saying. He made it was a highly contested 4-point play. He made it. TJ Hurley throws some BS up at the end of the shot clock from the logo, make it. The dude that can't shoot banking threes, and he pulled that second. The second one really pissed me off because he pulled it like he was a heat check or something. Like like he switched the first one.
Bro, and that's where I was sitting too. I was like, he ain't gonna hit that. Sure enough.
He banked 2 in a row. You don't get the heat check off of a bank. That's like against the rules. That's against the rules.
Against the rules.
That's why I was like, man, like that's some BS. Like that one pissed me off. I was like, somebody, John didn't eat candy corn. Hey, one of our listeners, somebody didn't pray
some bad juju
morning. But yeah, we missed clean shots that we make all the time. And
this man shot 31% from 3 the year prior and 28% from 3 the year before. He goes 2 for 3 against us.
Throwing up that BS. Well, come on, man. But I'm gonna let it go. That's why I'm not really even mad. I'm upset for the bigger. Like when you look at it, when you zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, it's kind of like I already stated that you don't get that many opportunities to be like an at-large team if need be. But if you look at it just in a vacuum, it was kind of like I feel like we were the better team. I hate saying it, and you're the loser. Like I hate saying it.
No, it's true. I mean, they just dug themselves too deep a hole. Like now, if we would, no, I was gonna say we're not upset now. We would be upset on this pod right now if we had got whooped by double digits. If that had stayed 14 plus or like 12 plus, and UAB really didn't get back in the game, we would have some real questions. For this team.
I feel like we were the better team, and they just.
Yeah.
I feel like they are better, far further along as a team unit, not as the team as players, but as a unit right now, and that they had good luck. Honestly, I hate to say it like that. They're a good team. I don't want to take credit away. They won the game. We didn't lose. They won. They played the right way. They won. Give Vermont all the credit. This is my personal feeling, maybe green and gold bias. I think if we play a 5-game series, we would win 3 of them.
I think we talked about basically everybody thus far other than Tony. What did y'all think about our guy Tony getting in for 1 minute in the first half? And the second call, he picked up 2 fouls. I think the second one was real tough, but then he never checked back in. Like that was interesting to me because I certainly expect Tony to be in the rotation. I'm curious if just as the game progressed and how it was going, like if it just, I don't know. I'm not trying to say it was an afterthought, but just there was an opportunity to get him back in. I'd be very surprised if we don't see Tony getting 10, 11, 12 minutes, here on out. I don't know if Vasquez plays less or more. I don't know how you fit it in, but we've got to see hopefully much better performances and much better opportunity for Tony going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, him picking up those two quick fouls and going to the bench. I mean, I do think it might have been an afterthought to put him back in. And I think I think they just knew they needed more offensive production.
Mm-hmm.
And with Vermont being as slow tempoed as they are, I mean, you really don't. Tony is at his best in transition. Getting the turnover or getting a missed basket and taking it to the other end. But with Vermont being so slow, I think Andy, they just needed either Vasquez, just needed more offensive production.
What did y'all
Especially,
think of the crowd? Did y'all see
I
the
was
announced attendance?
I was disappointed. 3,800 was the announced attendance. I mean, we had talked off air, guys, about hoping for at least. I mean, I said 6,000, but at least 5,000. Now,
It was
shout
very
out.
close to last year. Bradley, I think, was like 3,700, and we're coming off an NCAA tournament appearance, and we had AK on the show. And I mean,
Yeah.
we collectively have to do everything that we can in whatever way that we can to support this team. I was hoping for more than that. Now, the crowd had good energy in the second
Yeah.
half. I thought that the people that were there were into it. Now, a lot of the game, I think a lot of people were shell shocked, so
Yeah.
kind of sitting down. But when the game got closer, I think the crowd was involved. But I do hope to see, despite the early season loss, I hope that everybody continues to have that same sense of enthusiasm and everything as we move forward. Because again, football is a 12 game season. Basketball is a 32 game regular season. And Darren made an excellent point. When you think about this macro level, which we don't have to go to, it hurts to not take advantage of like an opportunity against a quality opponent. But you've just got to figure out how to make it up in some other area. There will be opportunities in the Cancun, I believe, tournament to face some quality opposition. And there's some opportunities now to turn it around and against some other quality mid majors like in Arkansas State. I'm going to forget off the top of my head who the other High Point on the road. Like you have opportunities to get wins in those games, and also now you've got to put kind of the pedal to the metal and try to get some double-digit point wins, like to make up, for that. At the end of the season, if you beat Memphis, if you beat High Point and Arkansas State, you take care of business. You don't have any of those WTF losses. I know some people are probably super bummed and think already we're not going to make the NCAA tournament. It ain't like that right now. I do hate that we just had that momentum to get some votes in the AP top 25. I think we had like 4 votes, and it's like we're not going to see that again for a long, long time. But like if we could have captured that game one, you start off like 3-0, you make some noise in that Cancun, you come back home, all of a sudden vibes are a little bit different. But if you're just a casual fan like in Birmingham, you came out, hopefully you had a good time. This is like a really good basketball team. Don't let that game one where the team scored 62 and lost put you down anyway. Like continue to come out, continue to listen to the pod, continue to keep interest in the team, because I do think that there are some really good things ahead.
Yeah, well said, Jimmy. Well, hey, you got 2 UAB fans, Birmingham fans. You've got 2 more opportunities this week. Thursday night, UAB welcomes Southern Miss into Bartow Arena at 6:30, and then Sunday afternoon after church, 2:00, UAB welcomes Southeast Louisiana. So hopefully we'll be coming back next week talking about 2 dubs. I mean, you can't lose to Southern Miss for a second straight year. Southern Miss came in, and it was early on last season too, and kind of took it to UAB. But surely UAB will knock down a couple 3-pointers this Thursday night against Southern Miss. So anything else on B-ball, or do we want to just transition quickly to some football?
No, I think we're good. I think we covered most everything.
Perfect.
Agree.
All right. Well, let's transition to football as UAB welcomes the UConn Huskies. I wish this was a basketball matchup. UConn to Protective Stadium this Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Hopefully, everybody will get down to Protective Stadium, but if not, this game will be streamed on ESPN Plus. UConn comes into this matchup 6-3, already bowl eligible, but they haven't played away from home since September. And I didn't even catch that until the press conference Monday morning. UConn has not played a road game since September 14th, I believe. And they're 0-2 on the road, by the way. So they haven't won a game on the road. UConn, Vegas has the Huskies a 6.5-point favorite currently, in the over-under at 56.5 points. Guys, also, we're monitoring weather for this Saturday. As of recording this Tuesday morning, the forecast does not look favorable. It looks like we're going to see some rain in Protective Stadium, at least throughout some parts of this game. And, whenever you hear rain in football, man, you've got to establish the run game on the opposing team. And man, the UConn Huskies have a couple capable running backs on this team and a really good offensive line. Now we saw some improvements from UAB this past Saturday against Tulsa. The run game, it held them under 200 yards. I know that's not great, but it's been a lot worse out of this UAB rush defense. So some improvement. But guys, what pops off to you just looking at the UConn Huskies overall heading into this Saturday's matchup?
I think it's the first thing you said. It's like, and I haven't watched much UConn at all. I just seen them here and there on TV as I'm like in between games and whatnot. But they have multiple running backs and they have an offensive line and they have a quarterback that's probably going to throw 14, 15 times. But, probably going to catch you deep. He's going to get like one touchdown a game, going to be efficient, not going to turn the ball over. But then they got like 3 running backs that can all go for over 100, right? Like, so... and we stopped the run, we're going to see if those substitution patterns, is that the real thing? We're going to see. I'm curious about this game because we come off this 59-21 win. Everybody's like, oh, well, maybe. I can look at the macro, but I know what the micro says. Like, None of that conversation, you don't even get to any of that other conversation until you put the right foot in front of the left and then you put the left foot in front of the right. So who cares about the end of the season? We can bring stuff up like this and just get your mind going like, oh, what if they went out the rest of the year? Because we're on the freaking podcast. Like, it's content, it's like stuff that, but if you're a player, if you're a coach, and if you're trying to be a realistic fan, it's like, who cares about the last game of the season or if you still got a shot to be bowl eligible? What is the truth has been this year? And we talked about it. I mean, we can beat it into your head. We have been getting our eyes beat out this year. Not only have we not been winning, we've been getting destroyed, right? We didn't get destroyed at South Florida, but we should have won that game. I don't think that was a good team. So them having that showing at Tulsa, it's kind of like, oh, okay. Not only do you, it's weird because like not only do you win, you like you kind of look like you're like a 7-1 team or something. Like who, like what, like who expected that? Like I think a coaching staff would be lying to say if they like I 100% expected that, dude. You've been saying we've been having good practices all year. This is the first time. So it's like, what I wonder what changed also because of those substitution patterns. Have these guys been hurt all year, or have they just not been ready, or have the coordinators been getting overruled in a sense, and we know we just gonna? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing stuff out there because I'm on the podcast. I'm just I'm let everybody think. But I just wonder if those patterns of how we subbed and how we just played different guys, I felt like that really worked. I wonder if we're gonna have another good practice. And we all of that to say is that's just context. We'll see. This is a incomplete. It's more of a. This year is more of an F already for failure, but it's not all the way a F, especially if you finish out strong. So this is the next. This is just the next step. So I'm not looking at if we win or lose. It'd be cool to win, to be 3-6, and then just be like, you know what? Hey, maybe, it could spark something. Mm-hmm. But honestly, can we be competitive? Can this thing go in the fourth quarter? Can we be looking at a game that's 31-28 with 5 minutes left, and we're actually playing for something, like playing to win? I don't want to be fourth quarter, John, and it's 48-14. I don't want that.
Oh, I would have been dipped. I would have been dipped from the stadium. Hey, yeah. No, you said it best. And Jimmy, I want to get your thoughts too, but real quick, I'm looking, can you be competitive again? Realistically, I don't see them winning UConn, especially with the weather forecast and what UAB has shown at stopping the rush. What UAB hasn't stopped the rushing attack from any opposing team. And you look back at the film at Tulsa. I got some eyes on it yesterday. Dude, Tulsa looks like a freaking high school team, and that like they were not athletic. I don't know what's going on with Tulsa. I really don't know how they beat UTSA.
Yeah, they got more. They had, at that point, they had more wins than us on the season, right? They had 3 wins. I mean, I don't know who the other teams they beat, to be honest.
It was a Louisiana Tech,
Arkansas,
and
Pine
Bluff, and Pine Bluff. Yeah.
Okay, well, and then they beat UTSA, so that's more than we could say. So they, and then I don't know if they were they competitive in any other.
I know Army smoked them, but I don't know. I'm just judging by like the film. That after we recorded Sunday, I went back Monday and looked at the film, and I'm like, man, this Tulsa just looks terrible. But hey, and hey, but give credit to UAB. And I mean, that's what we talked about when we recorded Sunday. It was like, hey, we took it to them, and that's what we should have done. So again, hats off to UAB, but I'm just what Darian said. I'm just wanting to see UAB competitive in this ball game Saturday. And I know non-UAB folks listening, like, John, the spread, or Darian, the spread is just 6.5. What you talking about being competitive? Like, they should be. And I'm like, I mean, if you we've paid attention closely to this season overall, all 3 of us, and most of our listeners, our viewers, have paid attention to this season. So, I mean, if you're wanting to bet on this game legally, I would say take UConn 6.5. That would be mine. That would be my advice. But hey, if we can get this thing in the fourth quarter and it be a 1-possession game or 1-score game differential, and UAB has a shot to either tie or take the lead, I would take that in a heartbeat. Forget winning or losing. That would be my goal. Like, okay, UAB showed, yeah, they blew out a crappy Tulsa team, but man, UConn's bowl eligible already, and UAB's hanging in there, have an opportunity to win the game late. I would take that in a heartbeat. But Jimmy, give us some thoughts about this matchup and what you're looking to see this Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to answer Darian's question about Tulsa. So they lost 45-10 at home against Oklahoma State. They lost on the road to North Texas by 32. They lost at home to Army 49-7. They went on the road to Temple and lost 20-10. And obviously they were blown out by us. They did beat UTSA, as we talked about, by 1. They went to La Tech in overtime and won by 3. And they lost on the road to Arkansas State by 4. So for the most part, there's quite a large differential on those outcomes. But with that being said, when I was looking at the UConn team from a macro level, John's already pointed out their schedule, that being an independent team, I guess they have the luxury of having 6 straight home games. Their 2 road games, it's hard to take much away, that being UConn, with playing at Maryland in week 1, 50-7, and then going on the road to Duke, a Duke team that's not the same caliber they were, last year, but it's still a power conference road game where they only lost by 5, by the way. They do appear to be a pretty strong second half team. So when I was looking at it this morning, they've scored more points in the second halves in all games, except for their game against Merrimack, which was just a blowout early. So that's something to monitor if UAB is able to have a lead or keep it close at halftime, to keep that in mind. On the good side, I kind of did this like macro level, like the good versus the bad. On the good side, like they appear to be good red zone offense. Defense all around, they appear to be statistically a good team, whether it's points per game, yards per game, third down conversion percent. So as an example, third down conversion percentage on defense, they're top 5 in the country. Red zone defense, they're good as well. Both of you, I think, have already talked about their rushing attack is good. And they don't commit a lot of penalties, and unfortunately their opponents do. So that's kind of like on the good side. On the bad side, third down conversion on offense, they have not been successful. Passing attack has not been nearly as successful as the rushing attack, and their turnover margin is not too good either. So just kind of like macro level, some of the pros and cons, if you will. As it relates to what I expect to see, I mean, it's hard, but choosing to be on the optimistic side, I would hope that not only winning this previous week, but winning the way that they did gives them some much needed confidence, some swagger. I know, having listened to the post-game radio conference or interview with Coach Dilfer, the first thing he said was something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, but y'all might have thought I was crazy, but I told you we look good in practice. So hopefully that swagger bleeds into the rest of the team. Something that I find interesting is I wonder if a guy like Ricky Lee plays this week with 4 games remaining. He hasn't played the entire season. He's been practicing. He's traveled with the team. Why would he not play for 4 games to end the year potentially, and maybe add some extra, leadership and add some extra production? That's something that I think is like a wild card element, because he can still redshirt and then do what he's going to do. So that's something
that's a damn good point, Jimmy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would really help. Now, help in the run game, who knows? I'm just talking about, we know Ricky Lee, like he brings swagger and like he brings confidence, and we know we did as a true freshman last year. So regardless of what happens after the season's over, I'd be curious to see if they slot him in and get him on the field this week to help out the UAB secondary. And I'm going to hope to be optimistic in that UAB is going to be able to come out one way or another with a win this week and continue that trajectory forward to have that solid end of the season that all of us are praying for.
Yeah, I think we're going to see if was the step forward of Jalen Kittner, was that real? Was that decisive? Is he going to continue to grow? I think one of the coolest stats that was pointed out was the game by game improvement that you pointed out last pod.
The QBR,
yeah, like the QBR every game. The turnovers were going down, touchdowns was going up. I mean, you could really get 6 touchdowns in a game. That's not realistic, a lot. But hey, will that continue? Just his play, and I'm going to be looking really close at the offensive line. Will that play for them? That was probably their best game all season. Was that an anomaly? Again, we went with 9 guys on the offensive line. I would like to probably see us go 8. I think I've seen one position where I saw a guy probably get outplayed. I think the other guys you can probably go and switch them out. But will we be able to hold up and give time? Will we be able to? Is that a real thing? I saw things that I saw from guys that I haven't seen all year. I saw us holding space with our body, with our eye discipline, our eyes in the right place. So we were able to help off of here and say, okay, let me go over here at the last second, because that's what we're taught to do as offensive linemen. They haven't been doing it, but they did it that game, and they did it consistently. We talked about how they was pulling up on punt return, and they played with more IQ. Again, go back and look at the linebackers and go look at them, and when they triggered to go to the screens and go to some of the running plays, it looked like they looked at film and they knew where they were going. I remember going back and telling y'all was that Army, and they had that guy come in. We tried to do that dang stupid shovel pass to Terrell McDonald, and the guy came in and just blasted. Boom! It was a loss of 2 or 3. And I remember telling y'all, we haven't made any plays like that. That had nothing to do with physicality. That was just all recognition, film study, knowing the formation. And last game, that Tulsa game was the first game all year. I felt like our linebackers, like OC Brothers, Everett Rousseau, those guys were Michael Moore. They were like, boom. Oh, I know this. I'm there. I'm like, look at that. They're triggering. That's not anything physical. But I saw a couple of things that I felt like, well, this can carry over. I don't know. Again, John, you said you went back and looked at it. You said Tulsa didn't look good physically. So I'm not even looking at those things, right? I'm looking at the things mentally. So we should. I thought my computer. I was like, what is going on? But but
I'm
yeah,
just advertising. I'm advertising.
Yeah, advertising for the game. Why he looks so sad in this BVP rain jacket? Like,
we cannot commit.
Oh, he is. He must have
went to that. Commit to this getting shipped by Saturday, though.
Oh no. Yeah. Good point. Thank you, Jimmy. Whew. Yeah, probably will be. You'll get it by the Rice game. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Go ahead, order today, Tuesday. Hey, get you a BVP packable rain jacket. And,
but don't look sad like this guy. Like, if you take your picture, you put it on social media, post it for everybody to see. Like, look happy. Like he
this was like before. This is before he got candy corn. His face is a lot happier when he got the jacket.
This is the third.
This was before the Tulsa game, and then after the Tulsa game, we're gonna give you a whole different image.
This was the third blowout loss in the row. This was the Army right here. Like,
I was gonna say, this is me and Army when they didn't sell beer in the States. Yeah, let me get close up, man. Yeah, I need to draw a tear. Is that a tear on his face by his nose? No, that's not. That's just a dimple. Yeah, but yeah, he. Oh my God!
Too sad, man. Golly, like, don't get the BVP rain jacket and like go to Cabo.
Yeah.
Get something to drink. Don't look that sad in our jacket.
Hey, last thing I'll say about this game, Darren was talking about the offensive line, is like, I haven't watched UConn, but I'm just looking at some of the statistics. And like last week, they had 11 quarterback hurries against Georgia State, and that's something that we're going to see, to Darian's point, like with this switching of lineups, like, are they able to hold up? Kitten has shown the ability to get outside the pocket, have some good pocket presence, if you will, but is that UConn defensive line going to be able to get after, Kitten and disrupt, the ability for him to make some big plays? Because, again, I think going back to last week, the plan was statistically to attack Tulsa through the air, and I would continue that trend against UConn this week. The weather may be bad, but I think I've heard Coach talk before that some players can spin it. And I think he even talked about one guy that could spin it better, like when the ball was wet. So don't know if we've seen or how good Kitna is playing in, the rain, but we may have to find out.
He said he could spin it better when the ball is wet.
What?
Is that what he said? Jimmy, did I hear you right?
I think I did hear something like that. I forgot. I don't know if it was Kitna, but I think I do remember
that he could throw. He throws better when the ball is wet.
I think he was talking about like Matt Hasselbeck. I think it was like talking about, he was going back and talking about somebody in the pros that could throw the ball, like spin like a good ball, like when the ball was wet, when it rained.
Oh, okay.
If it ain't, oh man, I hope I don't get clipped. If it ain't gonna rain, but you just got a hot two on that thing, spit on that thing, get that ball wet, and he go, yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say, hey man, enough is enough. Like, come on, bro. Like, he's not. I thought Jimmy was saying that he thought it was gonna rain, but he can throw it better when the ball is wet.
No.
I was about to say, get out of here, bro. Like,
it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. Hey, real quick though, too, rewatching the Tulsa film. I know obviously we talked about Kitna, but how about the two other quarterbacks getting in there? Obviously Harrison Barker on that package when getting the red zone. I think he got it to was it Armani Goodwin for the touchdown, but also Landry Liddy getting in that fourth quarter. I mean, I know this. You look at the stat line. What was it, 1 of 4? But there were a couple drop passes. Like, he put it right where it needed to be, and he rushed for like 11 or 12 yards to get a first down. So I was impressed. I know we haven't seen Landry Liddy a lot since he's been at UAB, but we were high on him, when we got him from Louisiana Tech out of the portal. So obviously, hey, Jalen Kitten, I hope he improves. But if God forbid he struggles this week, hey, put Liddy in, put Barker in,
And then also, if we do get some adequate time, do we have from the offensive line is the starmanship from our two wide receivers, Cam Shanks, and why am I going blank? But I'm going to say
Maury.
Yeah, Amari Thomas. I don't know why. I wanted to say Goodwin. That's what I wanted to say. I was like, Amari Goodwin. I'm like, his name ain't Goodwin because you just said Goodwin. But yeah, are they really dudes that are like stars? We know that they are good players. But that was the first time all season I feel like our quarterback has had consistent time. So if we do get consistent time, which is going to be a big if. Again, Jimmy just told us they just had 11 quarterback hurries. Guys, that's not a small number. When you're talking about a game, I don't know if people know about how to digest some of these numbers, but 11 quarterback hurries is they was getting after your ass. That's what that's telling you. But I believe in our offensive line. I believe in the individual talent. I believe in the coaching. I know Coach McCants. I believe in them. I think I saw something. I'm not saying that it's going to be as good as it was in Tulsa, but can it be almost as good? That's the case. Can Jalen Kitna really get the ball to our guys? Will the tight ends continue to be as physical as they were, and will they be as multiple use? Like they caught some good passes. Will we see the other receivers continue to emerge? The Xavier Daisies, the Corey Milliners of the world. It's still a lot of questions. It's like if you in a relationship and you see somebody and they just been acting horrible for like 6 months and you about to break up with them, and then like for a week straight it's like they're the best girlfriend in the world. You're like, am I tripping? Was it a phase? Like I can't trust it. I cannot trust this. You're going to have to show me again, or at least show me that you can try, that effort is there. That's all. And I think this game answers a lot of questions, and it kind of lets you know where your emotions where your expectations can be at for the rest of the season, for the rest of the games, though.
And another really big thing, especially with the weather projected as it is this Saturday, ball security. For the love of God, Jalen Kittner, please hold on to that ball because you're going to be scrambling around. I don't care if the offensive line plays even better than Tulsa. You're going to face a better defensive line this Saturday. You're going to have to scramble out of the pocket. If I see him holding that ball out, please, man, high and tight and hold on to the. Hey, I don't even care. Two-hand that thing once you get out of the pocket. But I think
just go run like just run all the way like this,
Yes,
like this.
Yes. Well, all right. I think that does it for our UConn preview. Guys, we'll be back next week to recap some football and basketball.
See half of my face come back when I. This is just. Hey guys, again, I'm not anywhere. This is Birmingham. Sometimes this happens in Birmingham. Like, like you can lose that. I don't know. I just want to make sure you guys knew that. Come in our speed recruit. Don't you love Birmingham? John, what is this building right? Is that Bartow?
I think that is Bartow.
Bartow right in the middle right there?
Oh, yeah. I think that's it. With that gargoyle next to, hey, why don't you go ahead and let that gargoyle send us out until next time?
Blaze the nation, just blaze.